This video is sponsored by the Cubamajig Series 2 Kickstarter campaign. Planechase is one of the most amazing and craziest ways to play Magic the Gathering, but unfortunately, it's been quite a while since we've gotten any new Planechase cards. But that may be about to change. Wizards' newest survey is talking about the concept of Commander Planechase.
Magic. I am a wizard! History. The Magic Historian.
My bones hurt. Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles. My friends, I hope the day finds you well. It's Monday, the start of a new week, and we're starting out on a strong foot with the exciting concept of Commander Planechase. So, I was going through Wizards of the Coast's newest survey today, and a lot of the questions that were in there are the normal style questions that you'll see in all of their surveys. What products have you bought? How long have you been playing Magic? What formats do you like? All that sort of thing. But sometimes in these surveys, there are interesting little tidbits where they ask you questions like, would you be interested in Commander Planechase? And the thing about these surveys is sometimes Wizards ask questions, gathers the information, and acts on it. And sometimes they're literally just asking a question based on already having the product made and ready to go. So it may turn out that Commander Planechase is already a thing and will be shipped out in X number of months. It's almost like buying a present for your girlfriend, putting it in the closet, and then going, hey, how would you feel about a big purple stuffed bear with a top hat? Knowing that you have it in the closet, right? Just to gauge how well it's going to go over. So for me, I see the concept of Planechase Commander being a very strong and viable option, all right? Because Commander is the biggest format in terms of Magic the Gathering, aside from people playing super casual, just play whatever you have kicking around at the table, right? In terms of an organized format, Commander is far and away the most popular format. I don't think anybody can really argue otherwise. The other competitive formats have their fans, and I like them. They're fine. But Commander is the biggest deal. Now, Planechase is a very weird beast. A lot of people probably aren't familiar with it, but it's really awesome from both a mechanical aspect and a flavor aspect. So, how Planechase works is you have a separate deck of Planechase cards. Now, this right here isn't probably giving you the right idea in terms of the size of it, but these are like gigantic, oversized Magic cards rotated sideways. So they're much bigger. You have a separate deck of these Planechase cards, and essentially what they do is they represent the plane of existence that you're currently on, right? Because when you're playing Magic, you're representing yourself as a planeswalker, your opponent's a planeswalker, and you're actually traveling to these different realms. But you don't normally think about that much. When you're playing a game of Magic, you don't really think about, well, are we on Ravnica? Are we on Innistrad? Where are we? And so basically what Planechase does is it gives you that locale that you're playing in and gives you modifiers based on that locale, and even uses a specific type of dice, a 6-sided die that has 4 blank sides and 2 sides with particular symbols. One of the symbols causes you to move to another plane, and the other triggers the plane's ability. So to try and flesh out your understanding in case you don't know how Planechase works, let's say we were playing, you always have the top card of the deck flipped up. So we started playing and you have Isle of Vesuva. So this represents where we actually are when we're fighting each other in our magical duel. We are on Vesuva. So mechanically, how this works is the top part of the ability here, it says, whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield, its controller puts a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of that creature. So this is a global effect that affects every player who is playing the game. So anybody who has a non-token creature comes out automatically gets a token copy of that creature, which is a nice potent ability. But then you'll notice down here a crazy symbol. This is the symbol. There's a planeswalking symbol on the die, and then there's this symbol which triggers the plane's ability. So if you roll that, then you do that ability. So it says whenever you roll the symbol, destroy target creature and all other creatures with the same name as that creature. So It's tuned in to not only destroy a creature, but all the copies that Vesuva may have made as well. Now, the way that it works is every turn you're allowed to roll the die once, right? For free. And then you can pay increasing amounts of mana to roll again and again and again. So you can pay 1 mana, roll the die again. Pay 2 mana, roll the die again. Pay 3 mana, roll the die again. And it just moves up like that depending on how much mana you have. And then each turn it resets. And as soon as you roll the planeswalking symbol, that means this card goes off the top of the deck. It gets put on the bottom, and you flip over the next card in the deck. So the idea from like a flavor standpoint is you and I are having such an insanely epic magical duel that we're basically like moving through the different realms as it's happening. You cast a massive fireball at me. I step through the blind eternities. I'm in Ravnica. Boom, you're right there with me. You've chased me through the plains. Then all of a sudden, you're taking off to the Isle of Vesuva, stepping through the blind eternities, and I'm hot on your trail, right? In previous like magic lore stories and stuff like that, planeswalkers can kind of somewhat pick up the trail of other planeswalkers depending on how in tune they are and how quickly they move. But the idea is that our battle is jumping from place to place, which adds an extra level of flavor and gives you a beautiful glimpse into the different worlds. Like, this is the Isle of Vesuva, all right? And the Isle of Vesuva is literally a place, it's destroyed now, right? Like this is what it looked like back in the day. And this is a land that is just full of mimics, shapeshifters, doppelgangers. That's literally what the island is all about. So when you look at the ability and see whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield, its controller puts a token on the battlefield that's a copy of that creature. It's like you show up in Vesuva and you're summoning up these beasts, and the denizens of Vesuva are naturally inclined to shapeshift and copy them. So they're like, yo, you know what, man? I'll help you out too. Oh, look at that bear. I'll be one too. Let's do it. Just for like the novelty of it. I love the fact that Planechase allows you to explore the multiverse in a different fashion, right? You get to see all of the flavor of different planes and the abilities that tie in, because this feels totally like the Isle of Vesuva. The idea that when creatures show up, the denizens just want a copy, some of them maybe involuntarily even, you know, these shapeshifters. I just love that as a flavor concept. So the idea of Planechase coming back is already exciting to me. I actually have Planechase dice that have been modified to use with Arch Enemy as well to play absolutely crazy magic, right? Because you have the option of traveling from one plane to another. You can roll the dice to trigger the abilities, and some of the abilities are absolutely bonkers. Like, I think this one is a pretty beefy bonker style ability. Now, the Planechase cards were designed originally to be used with particular decks, right? So you would actually have your own Planechase deck, your opponent would have a Planechase deck, and you would essentially just kind of flip over the top one of your deck or flip over the top one of their deck, depending on how it goes. We just use a group Planechase deck because that's easier to do with the cube. But there are multiple ways to play Planechase, right? You can either have a big pile where you live insanely randomly, or you can specifically have a Planechase deck that's keyed to your own deck. So Wizards of the Coast, based on what it says in the survey, it looks like they're planning on releasing commander decks with planes that go specifically with them. So you'll have your commander and everything like that. Your deck will be based around your commander, but then you'll also have particular Planechase cards that have abilities that go very well with your commander, right? And so this opens up a number of opportunities. One, from a gameplay perspective, where you can have all kinds of extra awesome mechanical abilities, but also from a flavor perspective, if they create new commanders or things like that, or even just older characters and want to show you the planes that they have visited or have an affinity for, I really like that as a flavor concept. The idea of, like, I mean, sure, these legendary characters may not have gone to a lot of planes of existence, depending, right? Because it's not like they're automatically planeswalkers, but there could be locations that they have been taken to by planeswalkers. I'm old school, right? So I still think of Magic from the perspective of you as a planeswalker. When you summon up the creatures, you're summoning the actual creature itself across the bonds of time and the blind eternities, to where you are. So you could have legendary characters who had gone to these different planes and really like, yo, I really like it over here. Oh man, I went to the Isle of Vesuva and somebody made a copy of me and I didn't realize, like, when I was looking at the doppelganger, I didn't realize how ugly I was till my own face was staring back at me. I just love the flavor potential that comes along with the actual power potential, right? Because it's a really cool concept to do these Planechase cards. So, like I said, this was a question on the survey, so it's not guaranteed that we're going to be getting this as a concept, but I feel like, Commander is a huge thing, right? Obviously. And Wizards of the Coast is actively out there looking for ways to build upon Commander and get more money from Commander players, right? Ultimately, the goal of Wizards of the Coast is to make as much profit as they can. And traditionally, over time, Commander players were actually harder to get money out of because they only play one-ofs in their deck. And they tend to just this is not a blanket statement of all Commander players, but just the sort of trends that I have witnessed over the years where Commander players can be more picky in terms of there's just particular singles that they want, and they're not going to chase cracking these boxes the same way. If you're playing Standard, you need a healthy influx of new cards. Rotation intentionally obsoletes your cards. Commander doesn't really have the same sort of built-in obsolescence, right? So as a result, you will have people of their pet Commander deck. Some people will have 50 Commander decks. Some people will have a couple. But basically, with most Commander decks, what's going to happen is a new set's going to come along, and there's only going to be a couple of cards in that set that people want for their Commander decks. And they may want multiple copies of it, depending on if it's something that goes into multiple Commander decks. But ultimately, it's going to be a handful of singles in most cases that appeal to these Commander players. So Wizards has had that problem of trying to find an inroad to really boost sales for Commander players overall. And I think that's why we're seeing things like the cards that you play with outside of your deck. I genuinely think that Wizards of the Coast is trying to make it so that wish style cards and things like that that reach outside of your deck are going to be usable in Commander one day. I don't know if we're actually going to get there, but I think that Wizards has noticed the problem that selling people cards for Commander gets more exceedingly difficult as time goes by, because if you want to get new cards into their deck, you have to make them more powerful or more exciting in some way than the previous cards, and this leads to power creep like ramp hardcore, right? So another option you can take is, instead of trying to find a way to get more slots inside the deck, find more areas outside of the deck to appeal to Commander players. And I believe that's why they made things like the companion cards originally, was a desire to basically create the 101st card slot for Commander. And we've seen more cards in recent times that allow you to reach outside of your deck into the sideboard, or if you're not playing in a format that uses sideboards, just out into whatever. Like, look at the lesson cards, the learning cards from Strixhaven, right? Those are a ton of different cards that actively say grab stuff from outside the game. So there's a part of me that thinks that Wizards of the Coast is trying to create enough cards that you use outside of the Commander deck in an attempt to basically get the Commander Rules Committee to cave and go, okay, you know what, we're going to change the rules. You can actually use cards that reach outside of your Commander deck. I'm not 100% sure why they don't already, because Commander's already a crazy, wild, and fun format. Why not allow people to have, why not let somebody bring a binder full of extra options? It just increases the variety. So, for me, I have no problem with cards that reach outside the deck, but I see that the concept of Planechase is another way to reach out to Commander players to get something to sell to them without having to change their deck. If they make Planechase planes that specifically reference your Commander, right? Like, you can do something based on the number of times you put out your Commander, or all creatures of your Commander's color identity have +2/+2 and first strike, or whatever kind of abilities they can come up with that are keyed into Commander. Well, now all of a sudden you've got an infinite range of additional things, because once people start playing Planechase Commander, well, they're going to feel the same way I did and go, man, I want more planes. Like, I have all of the planes. I even have sleeves to protect them because I really think the planes are awesome and Planechase is an amazing concept. So for me, I just want more and more planes. And I could see the exact same thing happening with Commander players, where they just go, boom, dude, this is awesome. We need more planes. And they could go back and get older editions of planes from the previous Planechase, and Wizards could make this a fairly regular release where new Commander planes come out specifically keyed in, maybe not all the planes having Commander concepts specifically, because that way it'll appeal to people who have older Planechase collections as well, the best of both worlds. I mean, obviously, I'm somewhat spitballing here, as this is all based off of the survey question, but I genuinely see this as having a ton of awesome potential. And speaking of awesome, let's throw it over to my sponsor. So what exactly is a Cube-A-Majig? Simply put, they are sturdy, reusable boosters that have amazing artwork from some of Magic's best artists. The purpose of a Cube-A-Majig is to store individually your cube draft packs or your sideboard. You could use it for chaos drafts, for leagues, or even to separate your jumpstart cards. The Cube-A-Majig packs hold 15 double-sleeved cards, 20 single-sleeved cards, or 30 unsleeved cards per pack. One of the things that I most enjoy about the Cube-A-Majigs is the way that they seal closed, making sure that they won't cause any damage to the cards inside. Series 2 of Cube-A-Majigs brings some serious improvements. There is a new production method that allows for cleaner seams and stops the packs from bulging outwards. The Cube-A-Majigs now come pre-made, so there's no assembly required. Each set of 10 Cube-A-Majigs now comes with a 400 count box to store them in that can be used separately if you desire. The Kickstarter campaign also features the Pod-A-Majig, a bigger box that's designed to hold all of your Cube-A-Majigs. On top of all this, the Kickstarter also features playmats showcasing the amazing artwork from these boxes, tokens with the same art, life pads called Jot-A-Majigs, and also miniature pencils to use with them. There's also a series of sleeves that will feature this artwork, and they even have the original art available for sale. Now that you have all the information that you need, head on over to the Cube-A-Majigs Kickstarter, because this pricing is a limited time offering. You'll find the link to take you there in the description below. My thanks to the Cube-A-Majig Series 2 Kickstarter project for sponsoring this video.